We can move on, Keith, and talk about Chelsea. Now, they reportedly avoided a PSR breach by selling the club hotel between the two companies led by the owners. What did you make of that news?
Well, this is a really interesting one. It's fascinating, isn't it, how you can do an intra-company transfer, and then suddenly you've solved your PSR problem. Now, that doesn't seem right to most of the fans. I think that's been the sort of general feeling. However, it was within the rules when they took over. The interesting part of this, though, is that the Premier League have not said, yes, it's been allowed, to my understanding. So whether there's been a hiccup, because this should have all been approved and passed by the Premier League, but the question is fair market value. Now, the Chelsea board have got some very, very experienced property people on there. So I'd be amazed if there isn't been the proper valuations done. It is, prime assets in West London, hotels, big buildings, commercial property. It should be of a great value. But if the numbers suddenly seem to fit, I mentioned 37 for Newcastle being a weird number. 76 may be a strange number, but perhaps it just brings them under the breach umbrella. If that's the case, then the Premier League may say, well, hang on, the process that you went through wasn't really the right way to do a fair market value. So there's still questions around it, and why it hasn't been approved, I don't know. It certainly came out of the blue. I wasn't aware that these hotels have been sold. Also, interestingly, they've managed to keep the management rights to these hotels, and so the revenue streams will still be coming to the club. So it's been a very clever way to do it. But then again, you get Todd Bowley and the private equity guys involved. They're going to be clever. They're very bright people. So there's still a few questions that we have to see on this deal, but something doesn't seem quite right. But we'll see. And certainly, I don't think they can. I don't know what other property assets they've got, but they're going to have to do something similar every season going forward. So we'll see where that goes. But if it's not this year, then certainly next year they've got another big problem.
Do you think, Keith, that might potentially explain some of their rash spending? And actually, is that going to mean that they're then in trouble over a potential points deduction? Could this lead to anything like that, say?
Again, it depends on the Premier League. If they did change the rules about this, about internal transactions recently. So that's what I'm saying for next season, that it wouldn't be an option for them. In the EFL, it would not be allowed, but obviously Chelsea are not in the EFL. What the other clubs are saying to the Premier League about this, I would think they're saying, hang on, this smacks of a commercial decision that was designed purely to dodge the PSR rules. Again, this puts the Premier League in another difficult position. They're going to take on Chelsea, who are going to have very high quality legal resources. So we're back in these sort of battles being fought off the pitch and in the courtroom. And it's just wrong. As you know, my opinion on it is just wrong. And here we are talking about Chelsea's hotels being sold rather than Cole Palmer.
And from an Everton and Forest point of view, Keith, I mean, I'm sure the feeling must be absolute disappointment when sort of a story breaks like this, particularly one that wasn't sort of very well known and now has come to light.
Well, I think certainly from Everton's point of view, they would probably have been aware of the situation that they could have done something like that, like sold the stadium site back into another company that Mashiri owns. But of course they couldn't because they'd already borrowed against it. And so those are the things that have stopped Everton from doing it. So that's the problem. As for Forest, I think they're going to look on with this and try and work out, like everybody else, is this really under the rules and has it been done correctly? So I'm very surprised that the Premier League hasn't come out and said, yes, this is an approved transaction. Or at least if it has, I've certainly missed it. And we'll have to wait and see. But that seems to be the case at the moment. So whether having a second look, I don't know. But we'll have to see how related party transactions are pretty strange. That's what Man City seems to have most of its issues about. So they'll be the other ones looking at this as well and seeing how Chelsea get on with it.